If Blender is throwing a runtime error, don't panic. In this video, I'll show you the quickest way to troubleshoot it, find the real cause, and get back to work without losing your project. This kind of error is usually caused by a bad add-on, a damaged file, missing data, a driver issue, or something in Blender that is failing behind the scenes. The good news is that there are a few simple steps you can try before you assume the file is ruined. If this tutorial helps you out, make sure to hit like and subscribe for more fast Blender fixes and beginner-friendly tutorials. First, the simplest fix is to restart Blender. Close it completely, reopen it, and try the same action again. A lot of temporary glitches disappear after a fresh restart. Next, check the console for error details. On Windows, you can open the system console to see what Blender is reporting. On Mac or Linux, you may need to launch Blender from a terminal to catch the message. The exact error text is important because it often tells you whether the issue is coming from a script, an add-on, or a missing file. Now, disable any recent add-ons. If the runtime error started after installing or updating something, go into Preferences, open the Add-ons panel, and turn off the newest add-ons one by one. Then test Blender again. If the error stops, you found the source. This is one of the fastest ways to isolate the problem. If that doesn't help, reopen your file or try the autosave version. Sometimes a file can become partially corrupted, especially if Blender crashed while saving. Open the last autosave or recover the previous session and see whether the error still appears. If the file opens correctly in a backup version, that's a strong sign the original file had a problem. You should also think about the most common causes: corrupt files, faulty add-ons, driver problems, unsupported operations, and Blender bugs are all frequent reasons for runtime errors. If you recently updated Blender, or if your graphics drivers are old, that can also trigger strange behavior. So the next step is to update both Blender and your GPU drivers. Make sure you're using a stable Blender version and install the latest graphics driver from NVIDIA, AMD, or Intel, depending on your hardware. After that, go back into Blender and test the exact action that caused the error. If the problem is still there, try appending the objects into a new file. This is a great way to check whether the current project file is the issue. Open a brand new Blender file, then use Append to bring in your objects, collections, or data from the old project. If the new file works normally, the original project may have a corrupted data block or a broken dependency. Another thing to check is missing data. Look for broken textures, missing image paths, missing nodes, or assets that Blender can't find anymore. Runtime errors can appear when a material, shader, or script is pointing to something that no longer exists. If needed, relink those assets or replace them with fresh files. If you still can't solve it, reset your preferences. Sometimes Blender's settings get corrupted or conflict with an add-on. In Preferences, you can restore defaults and test again. For a stronger test, launch Blender with factory settings. This gives you a clean environment with no custom preferences, no add-ons, and no leftover configuration issues. If Blender works fine in factory settings, then the issue is almost certainly in your preferences or add-ons, not the core installation. One important tip is to always read the exact error message. Even if it looks technical, it usually gives you a clue about where to start. And if your project is important, save versions frequently so you always have a fallback. That way, if a runtime error appears, you can roll back instead of starting over. So to recap, restart Blender, check the console, disable add-ons, update your drivers, test in a new file, check for missing data, and reset preferences if needed. Those steps solve most Blender runtime errors quickly and safely. If this helped, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next Blender fix. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.